Thanks for logging into our event for two FEJA programs, the FEJA Multicultural Jobs Program and the FEJA Solar Pipeline Training Program. I am Nate Keener, the FEJA Central Regional Administrator for the Office of Employment and Training with DCEO. We want to provide some information about FEJA grant opportunities, how those will impact your community, and what you can do to stay engaged as we build out a renewable energy transition for Illinois. So we want to talk a little bit about FEJA, and FEJA stands for the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. It's comprehensive landmark energy legislation in Illinois that centers equity and puts Illinois on track to achieve 100% renewable energy by the year 2050. Some of the intermediary goals are to reach 40% renewable energy by 2030 and 50% renewable energy by 2040. These are ambitious goals, and the legislation provides some funding and programs to support them. It also includes energy access and solar for all, renewable energy, energy efficiency, a plan for how we're going to get to carbon-free power as a state. It also includes funding for electric transportation and support for fossil fuel workers and their families. Another one of the main goals is to achieve a carbon-free power grid by 2045, closing all fossil fuel power plants in Illinois. And finally, the goal is to equitably grow the clean energy workforce to meet demand for clean energy technologies and services that are required by this legislation. FEJA, which is the precursor to CEJA, helps us build this workforce through clean energy training and employer connections. Right now, we'll discuss the Multicultural Jobs Program and address the Solar Pipeline Training Program later in the presentation. So let's dive into the Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, for the Multicultural Jobs Program. The NOFO is like your roadmap for a successful project proposal and application, and it follows these sections: program description, funding information, eligibility information, application and submission information, application review information. The URL at the bottom of this slide is the link to the NOFO, and we'll place this link in the chat. We'll also send these slides to attendees and post them on the DCEO FEJA website at the conclusion of the presentation. This NOFO provides all the necessary information you need to include to have your project scored and potentially to receive an award of funds from DCEO. And Devin has helpfully posted the link to the NOFO page in the chat, so check that out. Thanks, Devin. Essentially, the Multicultural Jobs Program provides an opportunity to provide innovative, employer-driven training approaches that pair education and occupational training with work-based learning and supportive services to individuals in need of self-sustaining employment. Essentially, this program is meant to prepare Illinois' workforce for the clean energy future. Quality training and connections to clean energy employers are absolutely necessary to implement the plan for carbon neutrality by 2050 and are intended to boost career prospects and economic development in communities across the state. The Multicultural Jobs Program will assist in the development of a workforce with the requisite knowledge, skills, training, experience, and competence to work in the clean energy sector. It will promote participation of targeted populations and communities, and it will identify partnership opportunities within training programs to maximize the social benefits of the funds provided. We'll take a look at these 5 essential program elements: eligible applicants, or who can apply to run these training programs; target industries, for example, what kinds of employers and training the programs will connect with; target populations, or the people that eventual grantee organizations will seek to participate and train; the clean energy curriculum required for the training; and program design, which has its own set of requirements based on the NOFO. Only certain kinds of nonprofits are eligible to apply for this FEJA opportunity, but there are several broad categories defined in the NOFO. Be sure to always check the NOFO. Eligible applicants must be a diversity-focused community organization, have a record of successfully delivering job training, meet other specific eligibility criteria listed in the NOFO, And you should see categories A through F on page 6 of the NOFO. Generally speaking, excuse me. Generally speaking, nonprofit educational institutions, I'm sorry, real quickly, are we recording? We are, okay. Generally speaking, nonprofit educational institutions, youth development organizations, workforce and economic development nonprofits, and other human service nonprofits may qualify to implement services under this grant program. The specific categories are as follows: community-based civil rights and human services not-for-profit organizations that provide economic development, human capital, and education program services. Category B includes not-for-profit organizations that are also educational institutions that offer training programs approved by the Illinois State Board of Education and the United States Department of Education, with the goal of providing workforce initiatives leading to economic independence. Category C are nonprofit organizations dedicated to developing the educational and leadership capacity of minority youth through the operation of schools, youth leadership clubs, and youth development centers. Category D are nonprofit organizations dedicated to providing equal access to opportunities in the construction industry that offer training programs that include Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, 10 and 30 certifications, Environmental Protection Agency, renovation, repair, and painting certification, and leadership in energy and environmental design accredited Green Associate exam preparation courses. Category E include nonprofit organizations that have a proven record of successfully implementing utility industry training programs with expertise in creating programs that strengthen the economics of communities, including technical training workshops and economic development through community and financial partners. And finally, Category F includes nonprofit organizations that provide family services, housing, education, and job and career education opportunities that have successfully partnered with the electric industry on job training. The department is seeking proposals that will provide and support training of individuals towards job acquisition in the clean energy sector. What is considered part of the clean energy sector? Please, if you wouldn't mind, folks, what are considered part of the clean energy sector? Do you have thoughts on that? What kinds of jobs count for the clean energy sector?
Solar.
Solar's one, for sure. Who else?
Well, weatherization and heat pumps.
Home weatherization, heat pumps, so like HVAC, solar installation, EV, construction, HVAC. Yep. Good job. Those all qualify. Thank you for typing those out. Got a couple extra ones coming in here. Oh, the automated message. Okay. Thanks for giving us those answers. And as you mentioned, this is what clean energy looks like. Solar and wind, automotive with an EV focus, electrical, green building construction, building maintenance, manufacturing clean energy tech. But they may also include, let's see, clean energy may include but not be limited to jobs in all of these industries. And you can learn more about these industries in the Illinois Clean Energy Jobs and Training Program Inventory using the URL at the bottom of this slide. We'll also place it in the chat. Specific training for clean energy careers will be addressed later in this presentation and will correspond to the subjects in the FEJA Clean Energy Curriculum Framework. Training programs must be designed for participants recruited from the following populations: equity investment eligible persons, who include persons enrolled in the foster care system, formerly incarcerated persons, and persons whose primary residence is in an equity investment eligible community. Training programs should also be recruiting individuals who face barriers to employment, such as low educational attainment, English language learners, and folks with low levels of literacy. Should also be recruiting individuals from environmental justice communities, displaced energy workers, and individuals from low-income households. Environmental justice communities, or EJ communities, are census block groups that are designated by the state as areas of environmental justice concern based on environmental and socioeconomic factors. You can access a map of eligible communities on page 3 of the NOFO, and we'll also place the link in the chat. As you can see in figure 1, which if you can't tell is the box here with the dashed lines around it, grantees for this program will need to follow this basic structure as outlined in the FEJA Clean Energy Curriculum Framework. There's plenty of flexibility built into the framework, but you will need to provide training that includes a bridge program comprised of clean energy basics, workplace safety information, and personal effectiveness, occupation-specific clean energy training that prepares participants for the jobs listed in the Illinois Clean Energy Jobs and Training Program inventory that we previously covered a couple slides ago. Specific occupational training may include, but not be limited to, solar photovoltaic training, energy auditor training, weatherization training, HVAC installer and technician training, construction and building inspector training, hybrid EV technician training, wind turbine construction and maintenance training. And it should also, training should also include on-the-job training formats that provide suggested trainer certification standards wherever possible. Explore the framework by accessing the URL at the bottom of this slide and in the chat. All right, so program design elements. Program design must include the following elements: partnerships, geographic coverage, staffing, equity-focused program culture, coordination, outreach and recruitment, application and intake, coordination of career planning, supportive services, stipends, training, program delivery, transition services and follow-up, data tracking and program outcomes assessment, and outcome assessments. Now, some of these program design elements are more extensive than others, but we'll describe each of them briefly. Be sure to check the NOFO for all the specific proposal requirements. Partnerships. Work with energy transition navigators and other local and regional workforce entities. Partner to recruit, pre-screen, provide training, engage employers, and provide transition services. Coordinate and facilitate the preparation of a diverse pipeline of workers for careers in the clean energy industry. Partnerships are encouraged within CEJA and FEJA programs, and success depends upon them. Although applicants may propose to deliver all services themselves, partnership and coordination will be necessary between programs as indicated by the requirement to work with ET navigators. If you elect to pursue partnerships to deliver your proposal, be sure to include necessary funding in your budget and Memorandum of Understanding, or MOUs, in your application materials. Geographic coverage. It's important to note that, as with other CEJA and FEJA programs, grantees must serve participants within Illinois. Successful applications will demonstrate how grantees will serve the target populations detailed in the NOFO. Staffing. Staffing considerations are required for all key program areas, including, but not limited to, program administration, instruction, outreach and recruitment, intake, supportive services, employer engagement, transition and follow-up, program reporting, and grant administration. If your organization does not have experienced staff in each of these areas, you may consider hiring or partnering to address that deficit in your application. Please note that you'll demonstrate your staffing capacity in the staffing plan materials and provide resumes, credentials, and MOUs as applicable. Equity-focused program culture. Grantees must utilize a program model that upholds the core values of diversity, inclusion, accessibility, and equity. These core values should inform all aspects of the program, including recruitment, partnerships, training, transition services, and barrier-reducing supportive services. Importantly, equity is different from equality. Whereas equality treats everyone the same, equity recognizes and treats people according to their individual needs. Program participants and partners come from a variety of backgrounds and may experience and have experienced discrimination and barriers to access. Grantees should be sensitive to these circumstances and strive to welcome and support all participants. Coordination. Successful applicants will demonstrate an awareness and potential to coordinate with other FEJA and CEJA workforce program grantees, including, but not limited to, the Climate Works Pre-Apprenticeship Program, the Illinois Clean Jobs Workforce Network Program, the Returning Residents Clean Jobs Training Program, the Equitable Energy Future Grant Program, the Community Solar Energy Sovereignty Grant Program, Energy Transition Community Grant Program, and the Coal to Solar Energy Storage Grant Program. As with partnership and coordination with the Energy Transition Navigators Program, CEJA and FEJA rely on a clean energy workforce ecosystem that involves a variety of other programs and entities. The success of the FEJA Multicultural Jobs Program will rely in part on coordination and communication with all of these other CEJA programs. Further coordination should occur with local workforce innovation areas and other local and regional workforce entities. Program grantees are also expected to coordinate with building trades, industry contractors, contractor associations, community colleges, community-based organizations, and secondary schools, among others. Outreach and recruitment must follow diversity, inclusion, accessibility, and equity guidance. Strategies must be equitable and inclusive of all populations. Outreach and recruitment strategies must also be informative and provide potential participants with the information necessary to make decisions about enrollment and pursuit of training and career options. Application and intake. DCEO will provide pre-screen assessments, application materials, supportive service assessments, and commitment agreements to help with the application and intake of participants to the Multicultural Jobs Program. Each of these materials will support participants, ensure they get the resources they need to succeed in the program, and provide necessary information for program administration. Career planning must be collaborative, continuous, and individualized. It will include assessments and individual employment plans, or IEPs. At minimum, the assessment process must be appropriate for the participant and address the following areas to inform the employment plan. Areas the applicant will need to assess include employment goals, existing skills, career readiness, barriers to employment. Like the assessment, the IEP is a living document that identifies employment and education goals as part of a career pathway, objectives, and the appropriate combination of services for the participant to reach the goals. The IEP is the basic instrument for the grantee to document the appropriateness of the decisions made about the combination of services for the participant, including referrals to other programs for specialized activities. Grantees should create individualized IEPs as part of a collaborative dialogue with participants. Supportive services provide participants with key assistance necessary to achieve success beyond career and training services. Applicants must provide a supportive services policy consistent with the program guidelines of this grant. Examples of supportive services include, but are not limited to, the following: assistance with transportation, assistance with child care and dependent care, assistance with housing, assistance with educational testing, legal services, including background checks, referrals to healthcare and services such as immunizations, vision, and dental care, student support services like tutoring, mentorships, retesting and makeup sessions, or other educational enrichment. Stipends are performance-based, may be offered to help participants stay financially solvent during the training period, should be set at a rate that encourages retention through the program, and should not exceed $13 per training hour. Performance-based means according to attendance and performance in the training program. In other words, passing exams, completing modules, earning credentials, etc. Keep in mind that stipends are not considered wages, so taxes are not withheld, but they still count as taxable income. Program grantees will need to develop a stipend policy consistent with program guidelines. Training services are critical to the success of many individuals in employment. Programs must lead to industry-recognized or post-secondary credentials and align with the program participant's choice for a career pathway that also aligns with the targeted industry outlined in the NOFO. These are the possible career-specific training pathways laid out in the Clean Jobs Curriculum Framework. Solar photovoltaic training, energy auditor training, weatherization training, HVAC training, construction and building inspection training, hybrid electric vehicle technician training, wind turbine construction, and maintenance training. As noted earlier, training must follow the Clean Jobs Curriculum Framework and include safety and clean energy basic topics as part of the Bridge program, in addition to offering one or more of these job-specific training topics. A minimum of 10% of the coursework must also be devoted to work-based learning. Grantees are encouraged to implement flexible and interactive program delivery methods to improve accessibility and help participants overcome barriers that stand in the way of their participation or success. This might include virtual or hybridized content, interactive learning tools, flexible course schedules, open entry and exit options, modular programming, and alternative testing methods to demonstrate content mastery. Grantees are required to assist students in transitioning to clean energy jobs or advanced training opportunities after program completion. Grantees will be required to provide continued case management and transition services to program participants as they complete the program based on an updated assessment of the participants' needs. Grantees will be required to track certain participant metrics, demographic data, and job retention and outcome information. Moreover, grantees will need to develop a program effectiveness approach to improve program delivery. This type of program assessment could include program completer surveys, employer satisfaction surveys for those who have hired FEJA participants. The assessment must include how the results of the assessment will be used to improve the program. Funding information. Total amount of expected funding is $4 million, with 6 total awards ranging from $500,000 to $1 million, with one in each category. And you see the listing of the categories here. So category A and D anticipating $1 million award, categories B, C, E, and F anticipating 4 $500,000 awards. The award has an anticipated start date of September 1st, 2025, with the period of performance between September 1st, 2025 and August 31st, 2027. There's the potential for up to a 12-month no-cost extension. Please follow the formatting guidelines described here and in the NOFO. So you see the application format must meet certain requirements of page size and font size. So please just follow those formatting guidelines. And as a reminder, the application deadline is Tuesday, July 1st, 2025 by 5 p.m. We will now turn our attention to the solar pipeline training program. You'll notice that many of the requirements of this program are similar or the same, and we'll go over review criteria for both after describing this program. And for the solar pipeline training program, I will turn it over to my colleague, Larry Dawson.
Thanks, Nate. Again, welcome everybody. The Again, the NOFO is like your roadmap, and same for all the programs. The so always make sure that you follow your NOFO. That is essentially the rubric that you need to keep in mind as you fill out your application. The URL at the bottom of this slide is the link to the NOFO, and we'll place this link in the chat for you. Perfect. Okay. So the solar pipeline training program goals. The solar pipeline training program will provide funding to develop a solar installer training pipeline for authorized projects and establish a pool of trained installers who will be able to install solar projects authorized by the Illinois Power Agency Act. Solar training implemented as part of this program must ensure that trainees are recruited from equity investment eligible communities. Participants must also receive training locally with hands-on and on-the-job experience in their communities that prepares them for applicable certifications or apprenticeship programs and eventually hiring. Next slide. So as with the multicultural training, multicultural jobs program, we'll run through these 5 essential training program elements. Target program participants or the people that eventually grantee organizations will seek to participate and train. Target industry, i.e., what kinds of employers and training the programs will connect with, the required training curriculum, eligible applicants, or who can have applied to run these training programs, and program design, which again has its own set of requirements based on this NOFO. So who should be recruited as participants of this program? Eventual grantees will focus on graduates of or individuals currently enrolled in the foster care system, persons with a record in the applicant's service area, individuals who face employment barriers such as low educational attainment, low levels of literacy, language barriers, etc., and displaced energy workers or individuals from environmental justice or other equity investment eligible communities. And EJ communities and other equity investment eligible communities can be found using this map, which I will also drop in the chat. This is a target industry. The goal of this program is to provide training for clean energy solar jobs as outlined in the Illinois Clean Energy Jobs and Training Program inventory, which you can access via this link, which I'll be dropping in the chat also. And here's what we're looking at. Things like solar PV installers, solar sales reps and assessors, solar thermal installers and techs, as well as solar energy installation managers. So grantees must also provide training within the curriculum framework. There is a flexibility within this framework, but grantees must make sure that they include the Bridge program, which is comprised of clean energy basics, workplace safety information, and personal effectiveness. The Bridge will also include core cross-training competencies to provide the foundation for pursuing a career in solar occupations. Also includes solar training that corresponds to the solar photovoltaic training occupation specialty and on-the-job training formats that provide suggested trainer certification standards whenever possible. So take a look at the framework by following the link in the chat. Okay. So eligibility is fairly broad here, but at minimum, applicants should have capacity, history, and experience delivering solar-focused job training. And the program follows the order of the NOFO and the program design rather. And we'll go through each element as we did with the Multicultural Jobs Program. Remember that the NOFO is your best guide when completing your application and writing your project proposal. Always come back to the NOFO. So first, program design. Work with energy transition navigators and other local and regional workforce entities. Partner to recruit, pre-screen, provide training, engage employers, and provide transition services, as well as coordinating and facilitating the preparation of a diverse pipeline of workers for careers in the solar industry. Applicants may propose to deliver all services themselves, but partnership and coordination will be necessary between programs, as indicated by the requirement to work with the ET navigators. If you elect to pursue partnerships to deliver your proposal, be sure to include necessary funding in your budget and a memorandum of understanding or MOU in your application materials. Grantees must serve participants within Illinois, and successful applicants will be in the same communities that they will serve. They must also demonstrate how the grant will serve target participants and communities. Staffing considerations are required for all key program areas, including but not limited to program administration, instruction, outreach and recruitment, intake, supportive services, employer engagement, transition and follow-up, program reporting, grant administration. Now, if your organization does not have experienced staff in each of these areas, you may consider hiring or partnering to address the deficit in your application. Please note that you'll demonstrate your staffing capacity in the staffing plan materials and provide resumes, credentials, and MOUs as applicable. Staff should also be able to connect with equity investment eligible communities and capable of cultivating an equitable and welcoming work environment. So grantees must also utilize a program model that upholds the core values of diversity, inclusion, accessibility, and equity, which you've already heard today. These core values should inform all aspects of the program, including recruitment, partnerships, training, transition services, and barrier reducing supportive services. Remember the difference between equity and equality. Another way to think about it is that equality tells while equity asks. What are your needs? Applicants must utilize programs that will increase access, enrollment, and completion for program eligible persons, irrespective of backgrounds. Successful applicants will demonstrate an awareness and potential to coordinate with other FEJA and CEJA workforce programs, local and regional workforce entities, building trades, and industry contractor organizations, schools, and others. As with the Multicultural Jobs Program, coordination must be broad and deep among workforce programs and partners. The Solar Pipeline Training Program fits into the CEJA ecosystem, and that ecosystem needs other component parts to synergize for the whole to succeed. Potential participants who don't meet the minimum program requirements will be directed to other workforce programs and educational services in their communities, such as free literacy, GED, and ESL classes. Uh, oh, um, Career planning must be collaborative, continuous, and individualized. It will include assessments and individual employment plans or IEPs. Career planning for the solar pipeline training program reflects the same requirements as the multicultural jobs program. At minimum, the assessment process must be appropriate for the participant and address the following areas to inform the employment plan. Areas the applicant will need to assess are employment goals, existing skills, career readiness, barriers to employment. Like the assessment, the IEP is a living document that identifies employment and education goals as a part of the career pathway, objectives, and appropriate combination of services for the participant to reach the goals. The IEP is the basic instrument for the grantee to document the appropriateness of the decisions made about the combination of services for the participant, including referrals to other programs for specific activities. Grantees should create individualized IEPs as a part of a collaborative dialogue with the participants. Supportive services provide participants with key assistance necessary to achieve success beyond career and training services. Applicants must provide a supportive services policy consistent with the program guidelines of this grant. Examples of supportive services are consistent with other FEJA and CEJA programs. For instance, performance-based may be offered to help participants stay financially solvent during training period, should be set at a rate that encourages retention through the program, but it should not exceed $13 per training hour. Performance-based means according to attendance and performance in the training program, i.e., passing exams, completing modules, earning credentials, etc. Remember, the stipends are not considered wages. Program grantees will need to develop a stipend policy consistent with program guidelines. Training services should lead to industry recognized or post-secondary credentials and must be in alignment with participants' choice for for their career path within the solar industry. Grantees have to provide a bridge program and a solar training program. The bridge program is a portion of the overall curriculum framework that addresses essential employability skills and clean energy basics to help participants succeed in clean energy jobs. Also, the solar training program will be taken after the bridge program and geared towards solar photovoltaic training. Occupational skills training, skills upgrading and retraining, work-based learning, entrepreneurial training, and adult education and literacy training should be considered in the program design. At least 10% of coursework must be work-based. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So grantees are encouraged to implement flexible and interactive program delivery methods to improve accessibility and help participants overcome barriers that stand in the way of their participation or success. This might include virtual or hybridized content, interactive learning tools, flexible course schedules, open entry and exit options, modular programming, and alternative testing methods to demonstrate content mastery. Grantees are required to assist students in transitioning to clean energy jobs or advanced training opportunities after program completion. Grantees will be required to provide continued case management and transition services to program participants as they complete the program based on an updated assessment of that participant's needs. Also, utilizing Illinois WorkNet and other systems as directed by DCEO for tracking purposes. And that tracking includes demographic data, the trainee job acquisition and retention statistics, hourly wages and trainee benefits, as well as percentage of jobs by race and by gender. As with all FEJA and CEJA programming, grantees will need to develop a program effectiveness approach to improve program delivery. This type of program assessment could include program completer surveys, employer satisfaction surveys for those who have been hired, CEJA participants, etc. The assessment must include how the results of the assessment will be used to improve the program. Funding information, all important slide. The total amount of expected funding is $3 million with award, and that's statewide, with awards ranging from 350,000 up to 1,000 per, sorry, 350,000 up to 1 million per award. Anticipated grant commitment date is July 1st, 2025. Anticipated grant award date, August 1st, 2025, and period of performance would go from September 1st, 2025 through August 31st, 2027, with the potential of up to a 12-month extension. Submission requirements. Application deadline is July 1st, 2025 by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Application materials must be submitted to the department via electronic form at this website, which I will also drop in the chat. And I encourage applicants strongly to consider having their application ready and start the upload process well in advance of that midnight deadline. We have heard from potential grantees in the past that a number of things could happen, from internet connectivity to technical issues getting the application uploaded. So please take an opportunity to get those applications submitted as soon as possible and not wait until the last moment, because 11:59 p.m. will be the final moment that applications would be considered for this particular NOFO. Now, our next slide, our next session addresses specific requirements specific requirements indicated by the Grant Accountability and Transparency Act, or GATA. GATA is meant to increase accountability and transparency in the use of grant funds and reduce the administrative burdens on both state agencies and grantees. This information applies to both FEJA programs we've covered in this bidders conference. So the grantees must be registered in the GATA grantee portal. The Office of Management and Budget GATA website is http://grants.illinois.gov. And this portal comprises authentication, grantee registration, and grantee pre-qualification. And the grantee portal is here, which I can also drop in the chat. And the grantee links tab is the entry point for the GATA portal. And you can access it by viewing the URL together at the bottom of this slide that I just posted. The eligibility information, pre-award requirements, should definitely have a FEAN number, a current SAM.gov registration or account, valid UEI number, not be on the federal excluded parties list, be in good standing with the Illinois Secretary of State, not being on the Illinois Stop Payment List, and also not being on the Department of Healthcare and Family Services, or DHFS, provider sanctions list. Next slide, please. So you can follow these instructions to obtain your UEI and SAM registration. There are also numerous resources on the Office of Management and Budget GATA website. Follow the link that I'll be dropping in the chat if you'd like to connect with these. And then other key areas to draw your attention to are the uniform grant application, uniform budget, conflict of interest disclosure, and mandatory disclosures. Except for the uniform budget, the first part of your application submission is necessary administrative materials that will be part of the administrative review. If your proposal does not pass the administrative review, your proposal won't even be scored or looked at. So it's very important to be on top of these items. So here are examples of the application materials that you'll be including in your submission. On the left is the uniform application for state grant assistance, and on the right is the uniform budget template. Please ensure that you have accurate and reasonable amounts that you've determined for each one of the lines in your budget, as they will also need to correspond with items that you've included in your work plan. Also, there's a couple more examples of required documents for the administrative review. On the left is the conflict of interest disclosure, as well as the mandatory disclosure on the right, which requires that applicants identify any potential crimes that the state would have to consider when reviewing an application. So the second part of your application includes your actual proposal materials. Keep in mind that we're listing two programs here, so it will be up to you to determine which one you apply for. Here's where your team will describe your project proposal and include detailed evidence of capacity and experience. It consists of formatted grant technical application for FEJA multicultural or solar pipeline training program, project work plan, one Excel file, containing a worksheet for each attachment. Attachment 1 is the executive summary, followed by attachment 2's program implementation timeline, attachment 3's curriculum plan, attachment 4's staffing plan, and attachment 5 proposed outcomes. So this pie chart represents how each application criteria will be weighed for merit review scoring. If your application has all of the necessary administrative components and passes administrative review, it will go on to be reviewed by a merit review committee. Merit reviewers will read through your proposals and assign points based on these four broad categories: applicant team qualifications, documentations of need, project quality and integration, and cost effectiveness return on investments, as well as the more specific criteria on page 16 of the NOFO. Applicant team qualification and capacity, along with project quality and integration, are the two biggest scoring criteria. Here is your opportunity to describe your organization, your capacity to take on and complete similar kinds of work or projects, and detail your team's relevant expertise. So, uh, describe your organization. Who are you? What is your capacity to partner with employers in the target industry? What is your capacity to serve the target populations? Ensure that you describe your experience in running a successful training program, as well as mentioning any relationships with employers and other key stakeholders. Ensure that you describe current or completed projects similar to the one that you're putting in your proposal. And finally, describe the qualifications of your key program staff. Now, although the documentation of needs section isn't weighed as heavily as other sections in terms of scoring, it's still an important piece of your proposal. Here's where you make a case for your location, communities, and specific populations you're proposing to train. You'll want to reference eligible groups and use data as evidence of need. So documentation of need. Make sure that you describe describe the data used to identify the underrepresented populations to be served. What is the issue or problem you plan to address through your training program? Provide information regarding the environmental justice community that will be served, if any, and provide any additional details to strengthen the understanding of identified issues, problems, needs, and expansion opportunities. One fantastic resource are regional data packets compiled and made available by the Climate Jobs Institute at the University of Illinois. You could access them using the URL at the bottom of the slide, which will also drop in the chat. So this is the weightiest and biggest part of your proposal, the quality of project plan. This section will contain all of the necessary details and logistics for how your team proposes to execute the clean energy training program. Among the important points to consider are discussing the service delivery approach that will be used, the training approach that will be used, identifying credentials that will be received at the completion of the training, providing detailed information about the work-based learning activities that will be provided for this project, and listing specific, measurable objectives that will allow the project to meet the stated goals. And finally, cost effectiveness, return on investments, complements your uniform budget submission. You'll need to consider these items: providing a high-level budget narrative, including an analysis of the cost efficiency in relationship to planned outcomes. Assess the reasonableness of cost based on the estimated number of participants and the length of the program. Does your budget narrative correlate with the information provided in the budget template? Make sure you describe the amount of matching funds provided, if applicable. And with that, we've come to the end of the presentation.